Hello and welcome. This is my old friend from film school days, Mark 1, David McCracken.
Hello.
Savviest of viewers might remember him as Michael Bay.
Yeah, my hair's no wig this time.
Yeah, with the dollar. Yeah, whenever in the nostalgic days of earliest and least effort.
Michael Bay!
But I still had the Michael Bay thing that I hold to this day. You were actually one of the first Michael Bay apologists I think I ever met.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because coming to film school, it was, everybody likes their auteurs, and you and I both said we like helicopters at sunset.
Yeah, helicopters at
sunset.
So
we bonded.
Yeah. Yeah. I asked David to come on so we could talk about screenwriting and micro-budget filmmaking because he is in the very last processes of finishing his solo directorial feature film, BULLITT COUNTY.
Yeah.
It's not something we can erase.
I saw him lying there. In all the wet ferns and moss. His blood black in the moonlight.
Can you give us the, as we were taught,
Elevator pitch. The power drill pitch. The pitch that you have to go in between drills. It's basically, it's an action thriller that is about four friends on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail in the 70s. They're trying to relive the good old days. They did the trail 10 years ago in college. And so one of them's getting married. So his best man says, hey, why don't we do it again and actually finish it, because we didn't finish it last time. But along the way they discover that there's buried prohibition money out in Kentucky somewhere. So they go looking for that, and as is wont to do with characters finding money, they start getting greedy and tearing each other apart and that kind of thing. But it's very, the term gets thrown around a lot, but it is very Coen Brothers-y in terms of it's funny. It's black humor, you get some moments of violence, and so we've kind of pitched it as The Shining meets No Country for Old Men.
Right now, they're running a Kickstarter. Can you give us the sales pitch?
Yeah, so the Kickstarter is for finishing funds. So, like you said, we're pretty much done, but the Kickstarter is to get us final color correction, final VFX and that kind of thing. So, we're having a poster done by Akiko, who did It Follows and Blue Ruin and that kind of thing. So, it's basically to help us complete the film, which we actually have just successfully funded, but now we're trying to get to, I think, 50,000, so that all backers who contribute 25 or more will get a Blu-ray of it. So it's like anything, as you're making a movie, you budget out for certain things, and then you realize some things are more costly, so hence finishing funds and Kickstarters and that kind of thing.
What was your budget originally for the actual shooting?
For production only, that one I don't know. I think we were trying to aim for the whole movie to be about 200,000. So the idea was pull as many favors as we could initially and for production. And we always knew that Kickstarter was a big possibility, as for a lot of indie films it is. But this one, we thought we would try to, if we were going to do a Kickstarter, to do it at the end so that we actually had something to show for it, instead of, a lot of Kickstarters are the potential for a movie, help me get it off the ground, and the movie most likely won't get finished or even started because it ends up costing more, all the complications. So we thought if we got through production, got through editing, got it far enough along to where it had to be completed, then the Kickstarter made more sense to incentivize people.
Well, I guess that's sort of the thing, though. I feel like movies are more sure if they're indie, because you hear all these horror stories of studio movies that even get greenlit and maybe even start production, and then no, you can't.
Yeah. I think a lot of it must be passion or some kind of drive on the part of the filmmakers. If they really want to get it done, they'll pull out all the stops and they'll work on it for as long as they possibly can, to get it finished.
Well, you have to. It's so thankless, and it's so competitive. I think maybe that's true in all arts, but not to demoralize, but it's just it's so crowded and it's so hard to kind of even be noticed.
Yeah, that's why I think a lot of it has to do with, honestly, talent. I mean, there's business savvy and there's that kind of thing, but it really is hoping that you can put together a strong enough team that all cares about the project enough to bring it to fruition and, take a hit on their paycheck or be willing to live in a house. And in this case, in Indiana and Kentucky, which is where we shot it because it takes place in the Bourbon Trail. But, to kind of rely on people's passion for the material, or passion for power drills.
I think, that's a really underrated subject.
Yes.
How did you find your crew, your, people that actually give enough of a shit to to go through the hell of low-budget filmmaking?
Well, there was a long brainwashing process when I put them in a dentist chair. Mm-hmm. The drills reminded me of that.
Did you have like the eye drops?
Marathon Man, yeah. But yeah, it was actually a combination of things. One of them was USC initially. I did what was called a 546. You did a 547.
I did a 547.
Yours was the nonfiction, mine was the fiction.
Is it? Yeah, I did a documentary.
Yeah. So on that one, that was like, I had a really good crew on that, a really good cast, and so after working on that, I took the lead actor from that, wrote a feature for him, and the DP from that, and then through other channels at USC from professors and that kind of thing, just really while I was fully employed elsewhere, we were putting together this movie, and I was just taking meetings and meeting people through other USC channels, friends of friends. So I mean, a lot of it was trying to find that nice Venn diagram of passion, but not too crazy, but crazy enough to want to leave LA for a month.
I just noticed you have a USC ring.
I do. I got this because, did you get a class ring?
No.
I didn't either because they're like $700.
Yeah, I was like...
So
I know it's University of Spoiled Children, but come on.
Yeah, so my day of graduation, the day of walking, we went to the bookstore, and, there's all the class rings and stuff, and I saw this for like $40 or $50, and I thought, I'll get this, and it'll basically be my wedding ring to my debt. So when I pay off my debt, I'm going to throw this into Mount Doom and get rid of it. Yeah, so it always reminds me.
Mm-hmm. So actually, that kind of brings me to another discussion point, which is, like, I've talked on this channel about film school before.
Yeah.
But it was that was with a colleague who went to a more vocational school, whereas I had gone to USC, and I hadn't at the time. At the time, I was a dropout. Now I'm a graduate almost.
Yeah.
But I guess then now the question of film school. Would you say it was worth it?
Yeah, it's I think about that a lot every time my credit card gets hit with more
every
debt
time
payments.
Every time your credit score gets down because your debt is so high, ballooning. It's like a tick.
You can't tear down the principal. You're just paying off interest. But you don't really know what you didn't know, so you don't really know how much you learned or were absorbed. And it's also about the relationships. Like, we wouldn't have met. I wouldn't have met any, like, the people that worked on this movie. Like, anybody who worked on this movie that I even met, 3 people removed from USC, I wouldn't know. Like, so this crew would be completely different. The cast would be completely different.
This crow is like, it's a racket.
Yeah, that's right. I went there. I sent my kids. I really shouldn't have filmed in an aviator. That was a bad call.
But the beauty of nature.
That's right. Those aren't planes. They're just pterodactyls.
Yeah, no, this is like, your movie was shot outside mostly.
Yeah,
this is
I like
outside.
nature.
It's like, it's so controllable.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we were in a color session the other day, and it was just the colorist was going, because it was just speckled trees, lighting was all over the place. Mm-hmm.
This is like aviary airport.
Oh my gosh, I know.
It's not really either or indie or studio, but I guess that one of the questions is why you decided to like go like almost full indie instead of either going with like a financier or clawing your way up through the studio system, as some of our other classmates are doing.
I think a lot of it is I think a lot of it is control, but
Like we have control right now. Over
Yeah, exactly. That's why. Yeah, exactly.
This is a metaphor. This is
all post.
Intentional
Yeah.
AF.
Yeah, we added the birds and the hammers after we shot. This was actually very silent.
We're actually like in the middle of nowhere. It's really creepy.
This is green screen. We're improvising off nothing, and then we're just the sirens. But yeah, I think a lot of it's control in a number of ways, but mostly because, ironically, as you know, in this industry, people don't have a lot of imagination. So you could give them a script, and you could say like, here's what I want to do, here's exactly this, here's the cast, here's everything. Just throw me, $200,000, which means nothing to a lot of people. And they would just say no or not get it. So I think a lot of it is just, let's make it, then no imagination, here's the movie. It definitely is a starting point, and it's a gamble in a lot of ways, but at the same time, I don't really know of any other way to do it than using the sirens. I just had a heart attack. That's why they're coming. I'm dead. Forgot to tell you.
It's the studio system coming for us.
If you want it done right, do it yourself. Do it with as much control as you can, and then, hope for the best, hope it turns out, and, but that's like anything. You don't have control ultimately, but at least you have a movie to show for it instead of a script. Because I know a lot of time, and I was frustrated with this, and a lot of people are, is you can have a great script that you believe in, but it's even hard to get your friends to read it and give notes.
Yeah.
It feels like homework.
Nobody, and because we were talking about this the other day, nobody cares until everybody cares.
Right.
And this is something, people, please stop asking me to read your scripts and your novels. It's not cool. That's, it's like whenever I say like it's skilled labor, like, it is. Like,
it is.
Especially for us, like we both have master's degrees.
Yeah.
And it's really, like asking for feedback, it's time consuming, and it's kind of a job. Like there's a reason people get paid for that.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's also a lot of people want to say I'm going to work with Spielberg one day, but it is all about your peers and coming up together with your peers.
Yeah.
So, have your friends and people whose opinions you trust. It's great to have somebody with a lot of know-how read something, but they also don't get your voice as much. They might not be able to be as prescriptive or as helpful as maybe somebody who knows you better can. So, but at the end of the day, you're really just fighting a losing battle trying to get your thing read.
I think it depends on your goal, but I think also like it is really hard to get people, again, like if they don't know you, it's unless they're an agent and they're actually actively looking, then it is totally fighting a losing battle.
Yeah.
Especially in Hollywood, where, like you said, people they're interested in ideas. They're not really interested in quality.
Yeah. I even had a lot of situations when we crewed up for BULLITT COUNTY where, I was going to have a meeting with, say, a costume designer or something, send them the script, have a meeting with them, and they hadn't even read it. So, at the point that, like, people who you could employ, and especially in a lot of cases it was going to be their first feature as that department head, and they're not even reading it, it's tough to get people to read your work, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not necessarily a reflection on your work, but I think you need to understand that it's like, while it kind of sucks, because, it's like you, by the very nature of like the creative act, like you have to care way more than is rational, and it's so hard working for so long on a thing, and it's kind of one thing that if you're gonna go anywhere, you have to accept that nobody cares, even like your mother, like nobody cares until everybody cares.
Right. No, and they'll care for selfish reasons, for fame or for their own betterment or money or something. But even you find out even running like a Kickstarter or something, you're essentially trying to get your cast and crew to care about getting the movie funded and finished. And even then, like the percentage of people that care is a huge drop off, and they're all people who worked on the movie and gave many months of their lives to it. So even then, it's just important to remember that you've been in this bubble, this creative bubble, and nobody else has that perspective.
Yeah, exactly. I think that there's maybe a little, it's kind of not really helping anyone, this sort of, people are going to care because you're special, when, the reality is people are, nobody, like you said, it's selfish. And there's nothing really wrong with that because, we all got places to be and people to do, but
yeah, it's kind of this weird balance of having perspective on what we're talking about, of nobody's going to care as much about your work as you are, but your job is to make them care as much as possible, like enough to read your work or watch your movie or work on your movie in some degree. And it is hard, and you're not always going to pull it off, but at least, I mean, that's how you get a movie made. You get people to care enough either for money purposes or to further their career or because they really passionately believe in it. And, in the indie world, it's not for money. So you're really fighting an uphill battle to get people who care about whatever you've, written. And
so with all that in mind, how do you stay motivated?
Alcohol. And, no.
I mean, besides
that.
Besides
liquid
the obvious.
courage. I have to think that I have something to say in a different way than I've seen before. It's not like reinventing the wheel or anything, but you hear a lot of movie pitches like I was saying, The Shining meets No Country for Old Men or whatever it is. Like, I haven't quite seen that movie, so that's new somewhat. And I think a lot of it is just believe, it sounds hippy-dippy, but believe in yourself. Like, you really do have to believe in yourself, because there will come points where nobody else will, and you either use that to keep going or it'll kill you, or you'll stop doing it. And, sometimes it takes realistic expectations and you think maybe this isn't for me. But I think a lot of it is, I've found, and I think we've talked about this before, you kind of get shark-brained a lot, and you don't even think about it. It's like if at the point that you just can do nothing else and you have to do that, then there's really no second guessing, because you're just doing it.
Yeah,
you're almost a robot.
I think that's necessary.
Yeah.
Or to me, it's necessary. Like, you have to, you have to shark brain sometimes. And I think a lot of people get hung up on the what will people think.
Yeah, don't.
And it's like fear is the mind killer. It's that don't get hung up on that. Even if it's just like, is this problematic? Are people gonna hate me? Don't be a racist, but
well, because you're always going to have to defend yourself.
Yeah.
You're always going to have to, people are going to say, take that scene out, or it's not worth shooting, or take it out of the movie, or the score should be this way and not that way. And, they might present a good case, and you might say, because you want to field ideas. But if it's something you really want in there, for whatever reason, stick to your guns, if you can.
Yeah, has that been a process to actually figure out how, or were you always kind of there?
No, it's always a process, because I think a lot of it is you do want to remain open-minded enough to take good ideas, but you also don't want to lose sight of what it is that you're doing or what you're trying to say. For this one, for me being so involved in it, like I wrote, directed it, my producing partner and I kind of co-produced it in terms of, pre-production and that kind of thing, and pulling a lot of our resources. So we were...
You made that joke about the aviary, now I can't stop.
Now I can't, yeah.
I can't unhear it. Sorry.
I just want that dish to be a laser and just shoot him out. Just a plane killer, yeah.
Yeah, plane killer. You'll show you to wreck my student film. This is for YouTube. This is an amateur hour.
I think where like the kind of defending yourself versus fielding ideas from other people really came to fruition in the editorial process. Mm-hmm. So when you get to editorial, you've spent money on certain things, you've acted your heart out, you've written scenes that you really like. So there were several scenes in it that I wrote. There was a scene I really liked, and it was a monologue that my character had, and I actually think I acted pretty well in it, but we cut it out, because you're like, it just doesn't further the movie. It's slowing it down for pace reasons. There was another scene that was one of the most expensive scenes we shot, and we cut it out, you know, and it's all in service of that movie, at the end of the day.
So for all those aspiring indie filmmakers out there, what advice do you have now that you're almost on the other side of having a finished product?
I mean, the advice is simple. If you believe in it enough, you just really don't stop and
Take it.
don't do it. Don't do it. I don't need the competition for one. And
You're just like, I don't want to see your white supremacist manifesto, to be honest.
I've seen
Like,
enough curb stomping. Jesus Christ. Never give up on your dreams.
it's true though, because I think
Yeah.
the other thing is like, I think people really have a hard time with this idea that the first thing out of the gate is gonna be like your breakout, and rather than just be like you said, you've already shot a feature before. You did 546. You were at USC for several years. Like this isn't your first rodeo. Plus, you actually worked in the industry.
Yeah, it's a lot of it. I mean, you hate to be so nebulous, but it is all a learning process. And I know that, you know, we've all learned lessons that have made the next movie better. It may not be a better film overall, but there may have been things that you've done better and it's all a continuum. And so, like you said, yeah, your first thing is not going to be the best, most likely, unless you're, you know, some savant.
There's a part of me that wishes I could find my Phantom of the Opera fan fiction from 2001.
Well, I guess I can have that right.
Like,
I'm doing a live reading.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, you have to believe in yourself. You have to work really hard, but you also have to not think about it too much.
Yeah.
And just go on autopilot and really work hard.
And that
It
is
is hard work.
skill. And I think it's just like, it's one of those skills that, you know, it's not like it's like not like Nirvana, like you reach it, like I'm here. It's like it's always kind of a process to just stay like sane through the process of creating, and, you know, care way too much and accept that nobody cares until everybody cares.
Yeah. Like, do you know anybody who's been successful in this industry that hasn't worked their ass off? I don't know of any. I mean, unless it's...
Yeah, I can think of a few people who, like, maybe are legacies.
Yeah,
Let's put it
legacy
that way.
people.
Legacy people maybe
Yeah.
didn't work as, I mean, they think they did, but...
Sure. Yeah. But I mean, in general, like a lot of the people I've worked with or know or respect, I mean, they just worked really hard. And
like Ryan. He was always, like, kind of...
worked really hard.
Like, I remember, like, looking at him and being like, nope, I never could do, like, you know, just the motivate you. Like, no, I mean, I look at his success... and I'm just not really terribly surprised, just because of, like, yeah, he was just really, really high energy.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I ever saw him be like,
Really? I mean, because what is it? There's that kind of adage that you make it in this industry because you just outlast everybody else. You know, and you and I both know a ton of people who we went to USC with who aren't in the industry anymore. They moved back, or they just fell out of love with it for whatever reason.
yeah, because honestly, like, because I did work in post for a while, like you did, and I part of the reason why I decided I was gonna leave the industry side of things and do writing and YouTube full time was just because I didn't have the passion for it, especially post production, and I was like, I can't half-ass two things.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's not a sign of failure either. I mean, I've tried so many things that I've had a passion for and just, it's not for me, you know, and there's no harm in it.
BULLITT County will be out whenever the festival process.
Yeah.
That could be another conversation.
Oh my, yeah. It's just kind of seeing where it goes, but so far, everybody who's seen it likes it, and it's all you can hope for.
Well, congratulations on finishing.
Thank you.
That in and of itself is like, y'all ain't even know. It's a bit, you know, it's, you know, high five.
Thank you.
Anything buried out there is meant to stay buried.
David, you're at Mr. Pictures Film on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yes.
With your co-producer, and
we're
also,
getting a YouTube thing going. But it's, slow. We've been too busy on this movie. I know. We're also on YouPorn. Just look for us. Mr. Dick Shoots.
Not Pornhub.
No, not porn. No.
That's because their search interface is so much better.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Yeah. Come to think of it, we should get on Pornhub.
Yeah. What are you doing? They have better comments. Also, the link to his Kickstarter is below. It's depending on when you see this, it should be still going for another couple days if you want to support indie film. And
yeah. So if you want to see some scenes from the movie that are almost completed, go to the updates section in Kickstarter and. There's some scenes in there.
All right, great. Well, David, hopefully we'll be having a different conversation 5 or 10 years from now. That we'll look back on this and laugh at the time we chatted in the aviary.
I'll still be doing Michael Bay impressions.
Yeah, we need to get your $ hat back. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.